Okay. Bye-bye.
I
Bye
don't
bye.
care if you're ready, Sedge. We're starting.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 166, but technically episode 1. Ronnie, we have a big announcement for you. We made a executive decision without even talking to you about it.
I've heard.
Yeah.
I listened to the podcast, so I know.
Oh, okay. You actually
Yeah.
listen to
man.
this trash?
Yeah, I do.
So, well, let me ask you. We've already talked about it. Like there was two names that I think were in the running. The grain and grit or grit and grain, whatever it was, but because of all the other websites that are like that, and we don't want our podcast to be mistaken for a beer podcast, we are the Three Splinters podcast.
I like it. I like it. It got a little chuckle out of my wife too when I told her about it. She thought it was funny. So that's
So
good.
And
Go ahead.
SplinterCon.
SplinterCon. That sounds better. Sounds better than con.
Con.
Sounds better than Green Suiters Con, but people
It
will always
does.
be Green Suiters. The only thing, so I wanted to make an announcement about this. So we are changing this to the Three Splinters podcast. You may still see it for a while as the Green Suiters on, Patreon and all that other stuff. I have to figure out on the back end what it's going to take to change all of that. Obviously, the downside to this is anybody listening to this episode or before who wants to sign up and they go to Green Suiters on Patreon and it's not going to be there. So we'll have to figure that all out, but it's okay. The other thing that I've been thinking too, and I want to make this announcement. So now that we are the Three Splinters podcast, which just so you guys know, myself and Steve have been communicating with the cartoonist artist who is coming up with our logo that will be based off of the Three Stooges logo, and I think it's going to be really cool.
Which one am I?
You're Sedge.
You're Sedge.
Yeah, you're Sedgley, like curly,
Hurley.
right?
Hurley.
Hurley.
So we should have that
Hurley.
artwork and all that stuff next month sometime. So I'm excited to see how that turns out. So you guys didn't know that. That's the first you've heard about that.
That's awesome.
In the event that I can't change the back end on like Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all that stuff, like if it doesn't just automatically change it, if I don't have that ability, then we may end up just starting on another one, and then we would just keep the Green Suitors open, so they would both be there. So I'll figure all that stuff out. That's all boring stuff. But our last patron that we have received while we were the Green Suitors podcast, gentlemen, welcome Mr. Gordon Schmidt.
Welcome, Gordon.
Welcome, Mr. Schmidt.
Mr.
Gordon,
Schmidt.
you have earned your way into the con.
Con.
SplinterCon.
SplinterCon.
Three Splinters podcast. Oh, I also did find out a giveaway sponsor,
Oh.
and it's Tyler from Forge 3D.
Oh, thank you,
Nice.
Tyler. You rock and roller.
He was nice enough to tell me, hey, if you ever don't have a patron, just say that I will sponsor it and then let me know later. And I was like, okay.
That's a good arrangement.
Yeah. So we always have
dude.
we always have Tyler to help back us up. So two lucky patrons, and that we'll do this on our next episode. Two lucky patrons will be receiving a $100 gift card to Forge 3D's store, and you can redeem it for all of the cool things that he makes. And speaking of next episode, most of you guys know that are listening that we have decided to do every other week during the holidays. This will be the last episode that we do that, and we will go back to weekly episodes the week of January 7th. We will be back to every week. That was a really long pause. Sorry. Everybody's going to be listening to the podcast. Are going to think that we cut out.
We were giving it thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs ups.
We miss each other. Every other week isn't enough.
Yeah. Speaking of missing each other, I think you have not been on the episode the last two episodes.
17 times. The last 17 episodes.
Last 17. I mean,
Yeah.
even when you were on, it was basically like you weren't
Yeah,
here.
I
So
wasn't here. I checked out. Yeah.
So, do you want to talk at all about
Sure.
the situation
I'll
that's
give
been
an
going
overview of. So the shortest version is my mother was involved in a wreck, an accident, It was a head-on collision in an intersection, and she went directly to the hospital, which was right up the hill from the intersection, which was a town that it's not a famous for having a good hospital. So apparently, you want to, when you're in a car accident, you want to make sure it's in a place where you want to be in that hospital. That's what I learned. So always think about that when you're driving around.
I
Pick
have
your
that luxury.
places. Yeah, you want to pick your places based on the hospital you want to be in. So after about a little over a week, she was moved to her home hospital. Um, so she had a week there, and then she had 8 or 9 days in the second hospital, and then yesterday she came home, which was nice. Glad to get her out of there. Um, she's home health now, and wound care at home, and physical therapy, and all of that is still happening. But it was a very unexpected, um, huge ordeal to have to go through. I
Yeah.
learned a lot. I've learned a lot for
About
sure.
Yeah.
the insurance side of things, you
I've
said?
learned about insurance. Yeah, I've learned about car insurance. I've learned about unfortunately, my dad, this is a 2007 Toyota Tundra she was driving. It was my dad's. He babied it, never parked it next to another car. He upgraded it, did all kinds of things to it. She kept driving it. He died 3 years ago, and she's, taking care of it. And she would happen to be driving it then. And the insurance company pretty much just offered like bottom dollar for it after it was just like in perfect condition from 2007. And I talked to them today, and they said that if I find comparables that are selling and higher, that they will go closer to what where we want to be. Um, but what I've learned from it basically is when you have a car that's like more than 6, 7 years old, and you're still maintaining and keeping it like in pristine condition, you're going to have a lot of trouble getting your money back out of what it's worth.
Right.
Like insurance
Yeah, they
companies
don't
don't,
care.
they
They don't
don't
care.
care. They don't. And it was kind of a wake up call to me because, like growing up, and I learned like pretty much from my dad, you take care of your cars, you don't park next to others, but I have really seen that you don't get rewarded for that when you have a car for 15 years, 16 years that you take care of.
Yeah.
Whether it's your fault or not, if somebody runs into you, you're not going to get what that car is worth.
Mhm.
And that was a big wake up call to me about that. It's like, it's not worth stressing out once a car gets to a certain age. Just either don't care anymore or get something newer. So I'm fighting that battle for her. I talked to the insurance company today, and it's kind of interesting because I was going by Kelly Blue Book value,
Hmm.
and what they offered was way like thousands under what high retail was. And she told me today it sounded like a real estate market. She's like, "Well, go to your area and find trucks for sale in your area." I'm like, "You're asking for comps." And she's like, "Yeah, that's what I'm asking for." So I go out and do that. Hadn't done that yet. I was going by Kelly Blue Book. Guess what? My offer is going up $3,000 because I looked at what they were going for, and they're going for 3,000 higher than what I even told them that we were wanting for it. So they kind of like didn't help themselves out by telling me to look for comparables. But
That's
it's
insane to me. I never knew that was the thing. It's like whatever the vehicle's value is at the time.
yeah, and the other thing is like my dad had refreshed like the LED headlights, tail lights, all those kind of things. Anything that you put into a car or a truck, save the receipts because the insurance company will pay you back for those things if you have the receipts.
Oh, no shit.
It does not include maintenance items. So like if you change out your tires, they don't care, which that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a maintenance item or oil change or like transmission fluid change. But anything you do to improve a car, like if you put a tonneau cover on there or, anything that you did like suspension, anything that was an improvement, save the receipt and the insurance company will pay you on top of what the value is. So
If you're in an accident near a
if you're
hospital
in
of
an
your choice.
accident, yeah, if the car is totaled out, which it is totaled. What the crazy thing is when a car is that old, it doesn't take much to total it. And that I sent you all pictures of it. I mean,
Mhm.
even
Yeah.
though this truck is considered totaled, whoever gets this truck will, I'm sure when we look up this VIN number, it'll be a rebuilt title and it will be driven again on the road. Somebody will take the front part off and cut it, and just because it was in such excellent condition. So it was unfortunate. It just shows how if you maintain a car for a long time, every year that goes by, you're not quite going to get your money back unless you really cover your bases.
Cool. So
What
you
was
just to follow up, your mom's recovery is going halfway decent.
It is. She has some problems with the cuts. She broke the brake controller off that was mounted on the dash on the right hand side with her shin. She broke that off with her shin and it cut about a 7-inch cut down to the bone. She broke that off, and her left foot cut the brake pedal, cut the ball of her ankle about a 6-inch cut down to the bone on the left side. And both of those cuts, they're having a lot of trouble with them healing. Like they're getting infected. They had to go in there and open one of them back up a few days ago and get some of the where it's scabbing on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying to get those to heal because that part's been messy. But her knees are both, they're recovering. There's like physical therapy. There's a lot going on, but she is able to stand up on her own now again.
Okay.
That
Oh
took
wow.
like we're on day 17,
Oh
and
God, man.
she's able to kind of stand up again. So that was a very unplanned thing that happened, and we've been trying to work our way through it. It's thrown me off,
Oh,
and that's why I definitely haven't been radio silence
Yeah.
since
we
that
missed you,
happened.
pal.
I missed
I,
missed
I,
the
I,
regular schedule.
I hate. I had to talk to Jason alone.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Ronnie. Always thinking
Jesus.
about yourself.
Yeah, exactly. What were you going to ask a second ago, Jason?
Um, what were the circumstances of the accident? Did somebody like run a red light and hit her? Did somebody?
They're still trying to figure out the details of it. They have they have three witnesses accounts, and they're actually contradict each other, but apparently a light was ran. My mom was at a major intersection where there's a Chick-fil-A, and she said the car came out of nowhere and just hit her. She has no idea what happened. She just remembers the car hitting her, and she was still rolling through down the road. And she said she remembers thinking, I'm still going. I need to put my brakes on or something because I'm still going down the road. Her airbag went off and everything, and she was still going down the road. And she said she had to put her brakes on and realized that she had to stop herself.
Hmm.
That's all she remembers. And she's 74 and the other woman was 82.
Oh.
82.
Oh wow.
Did she have to
Yeah.
go to the hospital too?
Yes. And she was out in 3 days. So with the whole HIPAA, thing with the healthcare, like not respond, they're not able to share a lot of things. And we were able to get that information just by trying to talk to the nurses. And the only thing they would tell us is she went home. So my mom was definitely hurt more than she was
Hmm.
because she was released to go home in 3 days later. And my mom was in the hospital for 17 days.
Wow.
It's crazy.
So it was a big ordeal. But she is home now, and that she's happy about that because she did not like being in the hospital at all. And we plan on Cameron or I are going to go pick her up tomorrow, bring her back to our house for Christmas, and be a little bit more back to normal.
Yeah.
That's good.
Get a little normalcy in there.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
It's been
Wow.
glad she's starting to do better.
yeah. I'm glad to see her. I mean, there was a while where she could not even be touched. Her legs were so swollen, and like her knees where they hit the dash were so you couldn't even touch her without her screaming. So she's able now to actually stand up on her own. So it was for a while I was like, is she ever going to be able to walk again? I wasn't sure. So I'm
Hmm.
glad that she's came a long way.
And
Well,
that was a
that's
hell
good.
of a week. We lost our dogs, and your mom was in an
I
accident.
know. I know. When I
And
heard you all both lost your dogs on the same day, I was like, this is not a great week for any of us.
well, you want to hear something to top it all off? The other day, Nicole lost her horse that she's had since she was 17 years old.
In Germany,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, horses live like 20 some years, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep. So that was a very bad week long period. It was like almost exactly a week. But yeah, she had a horse that she had when I met her. She still had it. Like we just saw it when we were back there last time. Even though like the horse was old and we knew that it was coming. But man, just talk about bad timing.
Gosh, within a dog within a week.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Wow.
yeah. I thought she was gonna end up trying to go back home, but I think she said she told her friend. Her friend's name is, excuse me, Heike, and she kind of takes care of the horse, and it's in the same stable that she has her horses in. And she was like, "Hey, if you see it coming, let me know, and I'm flying back." And then she just woke up, and I woke up in the morning, and she wasn't in the bed, and I'm like, "Where are you at?" And I walked downstairs, and she's like crying and talking to her family on the phone, and I'm like, "Oh no!" And
Oh
it was her
man.
horse. So
How old was the horse?
uh, over over 20, because I mean she was
Yeah.
17 when she got it, and the horse was probably, I don't know, a year or two old when she got it, maybe a little bit older.
Yeah, horses lived for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bummer. Enough
That's,
sadness.
I know.
Yeah.
We've just had things happen. It's like life's a splinter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
What, you know what? All three of us got a splinter.
Yeah. We
That
got
Yeah.
that wasn't a
splintered.
good one. I
No,
was
We
just
got
thinking
splintered.
yeah,
life is
life.
like a hand of splinters, my mother always told
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Like a splinter, man.
The
Yeah.
feedback on the new title is good.
Well, good.
Everybody seems to like it. So I just think it's going to be even better when they see the logo. That's going to be awesome. I hope it's
Wicked
awesome.
cool.
But I have a very high
I
confidence
just imagine
in
the logo
Steve.
being like a picture of like me, like just as like the focal point, and then like off each of my fingers, maybe like you all could be like little circles off from my hands or
Yep, that
something.
sounds good.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, looks like I'm flying through the sky, and you are just like laying down the ground or something.
And we're just under your coattails.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it.
There we go.
We're riding your coattails, Ronnie.
There you go.
No, I like the idea better of Sedge and I are like dressed up and Ronnie's just behind us grabbing.
Yeah, just grabbing the coattails and riding them. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
For
I mean,
Whatever.
that's
super
reality.
super fans will know what we're talking about.
Yeah. So, oh, well, I know that that's what you've been up to. I'm sure you
Yes,
haven't done a lot
that's
of
been a
work
big.
stuff.
I tell you, and when I say that's been up to, I've been doing what I have to do during the day. Anywhere from 3 to 4 in the afternoon, I would go to the hospital, and then I would go there until I begged my mom to leave. She was okay with me staying till midnight. She was like, "Do you really have to go?" And then it's 20, 30 minute drive home. So I would get home from 12 to 1 in the morning every night for the last 16 days. And I tell you, it's all about, you know how when they say life is about balance,
Mhm.
balance was way off and I could feel it big time. I am so just off balance right now. It's not good. Something like that will throw you off and it everything else falls. I'm so glad that Cameron was able to do the things that had to be done. I
Mhm.
had a customer call me and say, "Hey, I wanted to ask you about the screens. We're having Bluestone put on our patio. Is it something that our contractors can do with your screens, or is it something that that you all need to do?" And I'm like, "Well, when are you going to get your Bluestone put down?" They're like, "Oh, they're out there right now putting it down." And luckily, I told Cameron, I said, "Go out there, take their rails, pull the screens away because they're going to mess them up."
Mhm.
And he was able to go and do that.
Mhm.
He even was able to take one of his friends that are always dying to go help him. And I was like, "Yeah, take your friend, do it." So he went out and did that. So he was able to keep the quote business going while I was doing this, which was so nice.
Oh
Um,
wow.
uh, he was not before he was able to drive. That would not have been a possibility. But everything has came now to like all the planets have aligned. Cameron can
Yep.
drive. He knows what he's doing, and he's able to save me on the business side, which is nice.
Way cool,
Man,
man.
before you know it, you don't even have to go to work.
I
You
tell
better
you, it was
start playing
great.
golf, Ronnie.
You know what's really great is I have taken pictures of every single job. I was able to go to my locations on the photos and we sat in the family room. I showed him pictures of the job the night before, and I was like, "Here's the job. You just need to take these off." And you know what? To anyone who has followed me before, this is the job that I showed the scribing against the brick and the stone. I
Yep.
showed, and it went viral. It was like a really big job that went because I showed how I used PVC molding to go up against the brick and the stone. This was that job, and I was able to go back and show Cameron exactly what he needed to do and what he needed to pull. I was like, just take those out and just take them with you, where they won't get messed up. So it was great. He took care of it.
Cool. Nice.
So
Cool.
That is super cool.
so that has been my life, and Cameron has filled in all the blanks so that I didn't get too far behind in the work side, which is nice.
Yeah. Really cool.
And I
Sedge, I
missed
saw
you all.
we missed you,
Yeah.
Ronnie, kind of.
I
Yeah, we
have. I
missed you,
missed.
Ronnie.
I think our numbers on the podcast went down so dramatically because
I'm
they're like
sure.
they're like Ronnie's not here. I'm not going to hear anything funny. Then
Yeah.
it's
I'm
not even
sure.
worth it.
I understand. I missed myself. That's how bad it was.
Yeah. Sedge, I saw you finished your draws.
Oh,
They look good.
dude.
They look great. I haven't watched the video yet. I need to watch that.
Ronnie, I don't know if you know, I talked a little bit about it on on beers bourbon with the boys on Friday night. I ran into a hiccup setting the drawers, the drawer faces. I did too tight a tolerance, and the whole thing is in the middle of it. I go, "Hey, doesn't this look great?" And I go, "Eh." Instead of trying to cover it up, I talked about the mistake and how to go around it, how to fix it. I've had so many great comments on that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And there's one guy who watches all the Sedge Tool videos, and his name's Mike, and I think he's from the UK. And he said, "This is the difference between a great instructor and a mediocre influencer. He's willing to admit his mistakes and show us solutions." I was like,
what was your mistake?
"Oh, I didn't leave enough gap for the slides in my spacing." Okay, so instead of a 3 millimeter in between, I was doing on the bottom of the L bracket. I should have left 6. So I recovered it by slicing a few millimeters off the 2 middle drawer faces. You can't tell the difference. But boy, and today, Jason, guys, because I'm on PTO, I sanded, primed, and got my first coat of a really deep green. And Marianne walked out and went, "Holy shnikey."
Awesome. Did you how did you take that off? Do you use track saw?
No. I used my CS70 table saw.
You used your table saw?
Yeah, I
you
used my
just you
CS.
just put the drawer front facing with the drawer face down on the table and just ran it through.
Yes, sir.
And you did the bottom side so it didn't matter.
Exactly.
That's good. That's
And
good.
it worked out perfect. It's I think 3 millimeters shy of the top drawer face, and it just worked out good. So a lot of people were like, "Thank you, thank you, thank you," and a lot of people are following the series, and it's going great. Wait, I did the next thing I wanted to talk about is, hey, Ronnie, do you own? I know Jason does. Do you own a true position?
Yes.
Holy shit! I did
Very
a
nice.
video that's going to drop this weekend on it. Uh, even even Chris was really impressed. I cannot believe how I lived without that. So I go through the whole thing about
Saves a ton of time.
I used to make a jig for every kitchen or bath or any cabinet I made. And you know what was funny? I would save them.
Yeah,
For
forever.
freaking what?
Forever. Yeah.
Oh, for what though? I would write, "Hey, what
No.
job it was," and did I ever go back and reset a handle? No.
No. No.
So
It's-
but that true precision. So I made a mistake. I bought the original. I should have gotten the pro because the pro has the extension.
Mhm. I don't have the
Okay, and
extension.
you don't.
Nope, I don't. That's what they sent me originally, and I just don't have. They said they were going to send me that the last time I created a post on it, and I still haven't seen it. You know how it is. The companies will
Yeah.
say they don't have a great process on sending like follow
Oh,
through.
believe
But
me, I know.
I marked center on the drawer face, and it seems to work out good as long as I'm on the center. But it'd
Yeah.
be nice to have that extension. I don't have
Oh,
that.
I'm gonna
I
tell
have the
you
extension.
I'm gonna tell you right now, that's the difference between original and the pro. And I went immediately once I did my first drawer bank as a practice. I went, oh no, 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 no. I need that extension for that reference. And you can knock all the handles out in 20 minutes.
So fast.
It's crazy. I was just
Yeah.
like, wow. And this is infinitely adjustable.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
I have the extension. I would just like to throw something in on that. I do have the extension, and I also have there's a setup in there that has where you could retrofit the 5 millimeter holes for like shelf pins.
Yep.
So there's two
That's the
additional
max.
pieces that come with that kit. Um,
That's the max kit.
yeah. So I will not, and I've had that. I mean, God, I had that when I lived in Georgia, like years and years and years ago. I've never used the 32 millimeter, 5 millimeter hole thing, even though probably just because I forget I have it, because I there actually is things that I could definitely use that for. But I actually don't use the extensions for the most part, or the extension, unless it's a really, really, really wide drawer face. What I typically do if I only have a few drawer fronts to do, I may have used it in your situation because you had what 16 drawers or 20 drawer
24.
face, 24. So I would just take a piece of tape. I find center and I just put a piece of tape wherever it is, and then I
That's what
just
I
bang them
do.
all out, line it up, and
But
then I peel the tape off.
but the center line is hard to look down on.
Hmm.
I was trying to think how I would fix that. And I said, and I just kept going back and forth. And then all of a sudden, the hell with that. So if you buy it as the pro, you get an additional, you save $10. But
Hmm.
I ordered it, was 59. It was here the next day with Amazon. The other thing
Yeah,
too is that Max system with the 32 millimeter holes. It's for long pulls too.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I I've used that before when I put like big box store cabinets in a rental house, and
Yeah.
we have to go through and you make them look better with like the pulls. And I've
Yeah.
told Kelly I would buy that jig and throw it away at the end. It'd be worth it to just
Yep.
use it for
Yeah,
one
just the
time
time savings.
because you set that jig to the pull length and it just makes it so fast to go through and just knock those out.
Oh
And you
yeah.
can't mess up once you get those set right. You can't mess up.
Yeah.
I really like that a lot. They also sent me the recently they sent me the back cabinet jig, the red
Yeah.
position one. I have that as well.
Oh,
And I haven't been
cool.
able to use it yet, but it's for locating like the plumbing locations of the
Oh yes, I have one of those.
Yep.
And
cabinets.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
said,
bought mine.
remember I showed that to you? You're like, you know how we did it back in the day? Lipstick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
This
yeah, yeah.
much better than they used to just like guess, but this is like we get it exact. And I saw you can also use that for outlets on built-ins. You can use that same jig.
Mhm.
So, but I
Yeah.
haven't been able to use it yet for that, but I need to keep it in
Hmm.
mind.
Yeah,
It's basically some long fingers that just adjust on a
yeah,
straight plane that you stick on there, and you can lock it in on where that opening is for a plumbing opening or an outlet.
yeah. I just bought mine on Amazon. It was there pretty much next day.
So,
Pretty cool.
Sedge, what did you pay for it?
$200, and then
So that's
another 59 for the
so
extension.
unfortunately for True Position Tools, that is their biggest downfall. Their biggest downfall is the price of their jig, and it's not because uh, that's not their fault. It's because everybody has copied them
Oh
and made
yes.
a very cheap version.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You go to Amazon and there are,
Oh oh.
matter of fact,
Ooh. Oh
Craig did. Craig made one. I have it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the Craig one, you don't have any option for extensions but it is literally a direct exact copy, just like the other Chinese ones that you can get for $20. And unfortunately for True Position, you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like
Hey,
$200 or
I'll,
$20.
it's probably the tolerances. The True Position's got some real tight tolerances. So when I was doing a little research this weekend for something else, this took me by such surprise. It shouldn't have, but it did. I went to Amazon. I typed in Polini pocket rule. I was flabbergasted at how many. There must have been 20, 25 knockoffs
Hmm.
Hmm.
from different companies of Polini pocket rules.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, for like $20, if that. And I
Yeah.
was like, man, have have has everything gotten cheapened
Yes.
and copied into a ridiculous amount? So I was just
Yeah.
like, whoa. Hey, there's one other thing. I just want to. I've been using my Osmo 3. Okay, I got a question for you guys as they both take off. Hey, okay, yep, okay. That mini SD thing is almost impossible to get out.
It is hard.
So
It
what
is
I
hard.
I
And
found a
for
I
people that aren't
found a hack.
watching, I'm showing off that I have two of them now.
Oh, you stud.
Yeah. Because you know why? Costco, did you see Costco marked them down to, was it 3.99?
No kidding.
I saw it the day I saw it. I sent Kelly was in Lexington. She was like, I call in town, 15 miles away. I said, go by Costco and pick one of these up. She grabbed one. Next day, the viral video was that Costco sold out on them because they've been 4.99 for the
Yep.
creator like combo. And so I grabbed a second one for just like B-roll and things. So I've had that other one. Okay, you were talking about the SD card. Yes, it is extremely hard to get it out.
Okay, so I got a hack. You get a credit card and use the corner of the card. If
That
you
makes
have one that
sense.
has a slight round one, you can pop it out and push it in because a credit card's a little bit thicker.
That makes
I have been
sense.
struggling and struggling and struggling with that thing.
That makes sense. I'll have
Yeah.
to
And somebody 3D prints one, so maybe the
Cameron
whiz kid
can.
Cam can make
Yeah.
some for us.
Yeah, he totally can. I'll have him
Yep,
look at
it's a little like
It's
bracket.
probably a available file for free too. You probably just
Yeah,
it
oh
download
yeah,
it.
probably
for
is.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. I looked on Reddit and Reddit said, yeah, here's a zip file. I'm not going to open it, but they're making these things. They're 3D printing them, and it's really cool.
I'll have him look and see and print
Yeah,
out
it's a
because
little push thing, plastic, and it has little tongs if you want to pull it out on the other end.
nice. Yeah, those are hard to get out. I put a decent enough size card in there that I can leave it in pretty much almost like forever in a way.
Hmm.
Like I've had the same one in there for like 5 months. I just do the quick connect to my phone to pull it over and that airdrop it to my laptop. That's kind of my process. But um yeah, that's been nice. It's been a good camera. I'm
Yeah, I got
glad
to
to.
figure all that out, man. I was doing the is it the Mimo app today? Because I was
Yes.
shooting B-roll as I was sanding, priming, and painting for Chris.
Yeah.
He's gonna be surprised because I was talking to him and cracking jokes and stuff as I'm taping today. So he's gonna be intrigued to listen to all these lame ass B-rolls that I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Bring that up on your phone app and pull them down there. And then you never have to worry about the SD card. And then my MacBook, I just airdrop them from my phone over to the Mac. That's the way and it works flawlessly. It's very
Hmm.
fast. They have very good software, like
Yeah.
Apple version software. Unlike GoPro, I used to struggle and feel like an idiot with GoPro
Yep.
because it's like doesn't work the way you think it should.
Hmm.
But the Osmo software works flawlessly. It just
Yep.
worked great.
Yep. DJI, man. They got
They
all
are
those they got all
they
those
do.
drones.
They do. I mean, that's all
I
the Osmo is. It's basically the camera that's on the drone.
Yep.
That's what it basically is. And
think I saw that
I'm
today when I was at Costco.
the
Mm.
Osmo, did they have them in
Yeah, and
stock? Because when
they had a couple drones too that were on
yeah,
sale.
Yeah. They're
they've got the
popular.
mini.
They're popular in New
Yeah.
Jersey.
Yeah, they are. Um, when they marked the Osmo down to 3.99, they sold out at Costco, like cross countrywide. They sold out of them because they were 4.99 forever, and they marked them out 3.99. I grabbed one of them. I got it. That came with the SD card and like some extras even on top of that. So that was
Huh.
a great deal.
So so Jason, check this out. You're gonna be proud of well, not proud of me, but
I'm always
the
proud of
second
you.
set of kids are in town, and Marianne looked at me and she said, "Did you get me anything?" I go, "I don't think we were gonna get each other anything." because it changes, you know. And she
Right.
goes, because we always get it, we get stuff for each other all year long. Then all of a sudden she goes, I got you slippers from LL Bean. I go, oh, okay. So you want another iPad? Because I was good, you know. She's going, well, and Jen's here, my daughter. Yeah, no, no, no. They talked me up. You're gonna be proud of me, Jason. You don't have to go down to the basement. We got a 65-inch TV in the living room.
What?
Nice. On the first level, on the main
Oh
level.
my gosh.
That's a huge deal.
You know how I hate television.
I know. I noticed that first time I went to your house, I noticed there wasn't a TV.
They have one TV. Well, no, you have two TVs. You have the one
Yeah,
upstairs too,
one in the loft that's 100 years old, and the big one in the basement.
but none on the first floor.
None on the first floor.
That's so like mind-boggling to me because you I have I have a TV in pretty much every single room minus the kids,
Yeah.
to include the basement and two
Well,
spare TVs in the basement.
it's my
I
new
know.
it's my new studio monitor. Did I tell you that? I bought it with Sedge tool.
Nice.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. You got to watch your videos on there. Yeah.
Yeah,
You got to review them.
yeah, that's what I'm doing.
There you
Yeah.
go. I actually
So
just bought a
Hashtag
34.
everything's legal until you get audited.
There you go. I just got a Mac Mini and a 34-inch LG for the monitor.
Oh, shame
So I
on
just
you.
did that. I just did that for I couldn't I
You
looked at the
should have got the
Apple
Apple
one.
monitor.
I couldn't do the Apple. I just couldn't do it. So I did
It's the best.
34. I did it at Costco. And I also did an iPad. I just held it up for people like
yeah,
I just did a new iPad with this Apple Pencil
stylus.
because I want to learn to see if SketchUp is worth it using the Apple Pencil.
I
So
know a lot of people that use and prefer SketchUp on an iPad using the
I've been
stylus.
playing around with it. I've got that and I've got Procreate, which is like kind of an artist rendering thing. I've been playing around with that. But I'm going to take advantage of the 30-day thing with Apple because what I'm trying to figure out right now is it worth it for me to have an iPad with the Apple Pencil versus my MacBook? Is it worth it? And I'm trying to figure out would I use my iPad for what I think I'm going to use it for? And I'm pretty versed in SketchUp and I'm trying to figure out is this Apple Pencil will it make my work in SketchUp faster? That's where I am right now, trying to figure that out.
I
I'll
can't
have to give
speak
you an
to it because
update.
I don't have any experience with it, but I would argue that it would be pretty hard. I don't know. I don't know how the interface is. I can tell you that SketchUp, the speed in which you do SketchUp is 100% based off of if you know how to manipulate the shortcuts.
Hmm.
If you know how to manipulate the shortcuts, SketchUp is crazy fast.
Well, what has been a two hands behind my back tied has been I am familiar with SketchUp. I'm familiar with the keyboard sketch like shortcuts. The iPad does not have a keyboard. So I'm sitting there with the stylus trying to figure out the new version and I
Mm-hmm.
actually paid for the first time in my life. I paid for SketchUp just to see if this online version can work for me. And then I'm also going to do Fusion 360 as well, especially for Cameron. We're going to figure out, but I'm just really trying to figure out if that stylus can be better than what I'm used to. So we're just stay tuned. I'll let you
What
know.
what was the other software that you had mentioned? Not Fusion, not SketchUp, but
Procreate. Procreate
Procreate.
is it's an artist slash interior designer type sketch. You can go through and actually create points of perspective. You can do 1 point or 2 point perspective lines that show, like in the vanishing perspective of like a street scene.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put those up and do your sketch and then make those disappear. But I've watched if you want to like if you're having trouble sleeping, go on YouTube and bring up Procreate drawing like 50 minutes to an hour long sessions on how to draw like a mountain scene or like a cabin in the woods. You want to fall asleep, watch one of those. Because you're
Uh-huh.
sitting there watching it and you're trying to stay awake. And it's like, I'm going to pick the so and so brush and I'm going to go through, just going to dab on here. And I'm
Bob
going to put little
Ross.
clouds. It's Bob Ross all
It's a
over again. And these guys have these
technological Bob Ross.
channels and they're 45 minutes plus videos. They have a huge following. All they do is go in there and create these sketches and show you, they just walk you through as they make these sketches. You learn a lot from them about the tools and things, but it's hard to fight going to sleep. But it's not like you're going to start watching them and jump off. So their retention must be crazy, like on YouTube, their numbers, because you want to see the end result. You're not going to
Mhm.
jump off from it. But I also, that was a $12.99 app, but I did download that because it's one of the things they say with Apple Pencil that is really, it utilizes fully what it's capable of. I have the Pro print pencil where you can turn it and change your palettes and that kind of thing. So I'm learning.
What's isn't there's another one that's real popular, Shaper 3D? Is that what it is?
Yeah, that would be. I don't have that one. Yeah, that would
I've
be.
seen people use that with a stylus pen on an iPad, and that one to me looks like the most
Mhm.
intuitive if you're going to be using a stylus pen. I actually have been very tempted to try it.
I need
You
to
know,
try
just
that
sitting on
one
the
as
couch,
well.
like designing something.
I'll try that one as well. You're right.
Shaper 3D. I think there's
I,
some guys,
I
some of our patrons that actually use that. I'm sure they
I
can
put
chime in.
myself on a 30-day thing. I picked it up like a few days ago because I thought when I was sitting in the hospital, just making my mom feel better that I'm there. I can't do anything. I'm not a doctor. But I was like, if I have the iPad, I
You're
could just
not?
at least be. No,
I
but she
thought that you
thinks
did
I am.
that
I,
like one
I
summer you
I
decided to
can
become a doctor.
pretend when the doctors come in, I do start talking lingo to them. They think I am a doctor, but I'm not. But
Yeah.
to have
You
the
guys see
iPad,
that
which thing?
right here?
Your
Believe it or
finger?
not, that's a splinter.
You got a splinter in your finger?
I got a splinter.
It's a
on my-
sign, everybody.
It's
There
a
you go.
sign.
It's a sign.
I got a splinter.
You got a splinter in your finger.
My finger. Vinegar.
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 Finger.
You guys know what I did today?
What'd you do today?
Oh, what'd you do?
I did not finish, but I started putting together my new router table.
From who?
Ooh.
I got the Jessam.
Ooh,
Wow.
Jessam.
I don't have the motor yet because they had an amazing Black Friday and they have like 600 motors on the way. Um, and they're
Wow.
all like spoken for already. So there's like a big lead time. Interesting story about that with their motors because that's like the crazy thing right now. And I think Woodpeckers just came out with an uh, exact same thing, like same little spindle thing and all that. But with their motors, I guess they're the majority of it's made overseas. But when they come here, they all have to be disassembled and like all this stuff has to be put into them prior to shipping them out. Um, which I thought was really interesting because I thought that they would just come completely done, but it's just like no, just the guts are there. So I don't know what all's in it, you know, and what special technology they have, but I don't have that. I got most of it put together, but I still have a little bit left to do, which probably will and not end up happening until Thursday or Friday now. But you want to talk about a nice freaking router table? That thing is sweet. The
Yeah.
base is really nice. The mobile caster system is nice. The top is nice. The lift system is really nice. Um,
The lip
very
system?
interested. Lift,
Oh, I thought you
Lip.
said the lips.
lip system. Yeah, the lip.
The lip
You
system.
know, I love a good lip system.
I'm telling
My
you.
my woodpecker one has a spin right motor.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's the one
That's
that,
their motor, spin rate.
yeah, spin
Yeah,
right one. It's powerful. Soft start.
yeah.
Is it a 3 horse?
I think it's 67 horse.
No
Yeah, I
kidding,
think mine's
huh? Wow.
114.
No, it's
I
either
got a
3
special
or
one.
5. It's as much horse as you would ever want. That's
Wow.
what they said on the reviews.
They don't use horsepower. It's 36 woodpeckers.
Yeah, it's how many splinters?
Yeah,
Ooh.
three.
It could throw 30 splinters a minute.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Does it got good dust extraction?
Whatever you want to throw at it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Depends on
yeah.
what
So
you hook up to it.
so what did you have before you had the
I have the
Jessam?
Incra. I still have it. I think I'm going to end up giving it to a good buddy of mine um, who is getting into woodworking. And my buddy Joe, Sedge knows him.
Joe Metz.
No, not Joe Metz. Joe Perminis,
Oh,
the one that used to live here with the beard, who was at my retirement party, Army guy.
yeah. He
You've
moved
met
to
him a few times.
Tennessee.
Yeah, yeah, moved down to Tennessee. Well, he bought a house down in Tennessee, and it's on. He's got a really nice property, and it had a shop on it. And the guy added on to the garage, so the front part of the garage is like a man cave, which is awesome. And then the backside is actually a shop, and he left a bunch of his tools. So since then, he's really gotten into. He's kind of getting into woodworking and stuff. So I asked him if he would be interested in it, and I may be taking it up there next month when I go visit him. But I'm going to do a video talking about why I switched or whatever. But yeah, this thing is really nice. It's really sexy looking. But for me, it was between. I kind of threw the woodpecker idea away a while ago. I've seen it a few times in person. It looks like a really nice router table, but had it narrowed down to either going with the Harvey or the Jessam. And the thing that was drawing me towards the Harvey was the cast iron top.
Yeah.
Um, but I ended up deciding to go with the Jessam. I've used a ton of Jessam stuff in the past, and I've always been a huge fan of it. So went with the Jessam. But that's what I was working on today. Leo started to help me, but by the time we got the base together, he was bored and had to go inside. So I had to continue working on it by myself. And then
You
this
know,
past week,
let me just, I'm curious because I will say the woodpeckers router table, I assembled it at my house and I got all the boxes undone. I put it out on their kitchen table when I was assembling it. I would say that that was the most components that I've ever had on anything that I've ever assembled for a shop. Like to the point of
Really?
that I almost was like,
yeah, this is the
I don't
same.
feel like doing this. I don't even feel like figuring this out. Was it the same way with that one?
It is so far. It's been. I mean, it shipped in 7 packages. Every box has a giant bag of hardware and stuff. But I think that's just a result of shipping it in so many different
It was
packages and you having to assemble everything. But
overwhelming.
it's crazy. Lots of
Yeah.
screws, lots of
I mean,
bolts. Yeah,
I sit there and stared at it and thought, did normal people put this thing together? Like
yeah.
what? It was bad. Um, Overwhelming bad. So that's interesting that it's the same way with the Jessam. It's a lot of component, a lot of square, like those
The
square
Anchor was too.
screws.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It was overwhelming.
All the Anchor stuff is always very technical when it comes to putting it all together. Lots of hardware because it's all aluminum extrusion stuff. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's what it all is. But I'm stoked about this. I think it's going to be good.
Is it
Interested
a
to see
big
what
foot,
kind of.
a bigger footprint than your Inca?
Uh, so in terms of a router table size, it's the same. The issue that I was having, and this is why I want to do a video addressing why I got the new one, was the Inca. I talked to Jessam, because I was inquiring about a military discount that they had, which apparently anybody listening, if you are prior military or in the military, Jessam has a 15% military discount.
Oh,
You
that's
just have
really
to
good.
contact them and get set up, and they'll put it on your account. And anytime you ever order anything ever, you'll get 15% off. So there's a validation process. Anyways, I wanted to throw that out there because there's not many companies that do that. But the problem with the Incra is the footprint it takes up when you need to move the fence and the orientation in which you have to use the router table. So, because a typical router table, you do what? You're using it along the long way. As
Yeah.
where the Incra, you're using it along the short. So if you put it up against the wall like you would a normal router table, you're limited on the length of piece that you can use because you'd hit the wall. So you have to turn it so that bar can hang off the end of it. You've seen my router table before, Sedge. So if you would need to move the fence, let's say I need 8 inches of clearance because I'm doing a dado or whatever, you have to move the fence. Well, when you move the fence, that bar sticks out of the end of the table. So that can't be up against a wall either. So you basically have to move the thing anytime you want to use it unless it's sitting out in the open on its own. Because you're either going to hit the wall with the bar or you're going to hit the wall with your workpiece, depending on which way you have it oriented. Because of that, it really has just become a catch-all for lots of things. Like right now, all of those Salice mock-ups of the hinges, they're just piled up on it because I needed a place to put it. And the reason why I don't use it very much is because typically that's what my router table looks like. It is usually full of stuff because I'm like, well, I'll just put it over here real quick. And then I end up not moving it or using it because anytime I use it, I have to move it. So it's inconvenient. And I've talked about this in another video. Like, I feel like anytime that the more inconvenient it is to use something, the more
Yep.
you will find another way to do it, which in a
Yes.
lot of
Correct.
cases will lead to
So true.
problems in the shop. So
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 true.
true.
I have
It
always
really
been a
is.
huge advocate for trying to get your tools in a location that does not require you to move them in order to use them, simply because then you will use it more, right? Um, and that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to get a traditional style router table where I could put it up against the wall and I could use it there in that configuration for 95% of the things that I need to use it for, and it never become a problem. Um, and that's kind of why I decided to move away. I will say that I still don't think that there is a single router table on the market, or I should say, there's not a single fence system on the market that gives you the unparalleled accuracy and adjustability of an Incra fence. However, it's overkill for a lot of people, including myself. That doesn't mean I don't love it, because I do. And I will say for the rest of my life, the Incra fence is fantastic on both the table saw, on the router table, but it is absolutely overkill. But there has been times where I have been so thankful for its adjustability, like walking in the absolute perfect fit of a dado by, you know, adjusting it 1/100th of an inch at a time, or 1/1000th of
Mhm.
an inch increments. Like, that's pretty cool, right? Um, but how often do you need that? You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I've struggled with that on my woodpeckers. Has the micro adjustment on the back, and Cameron, I've talked about that. I almost would rather pull that micro off for like standard router functions because it's nothing but annoying. Like I don't want to turn this knob 3,000 times to get it to go a quarter inch
Right.
forward, you know. And it's like there's been times before when I'm trying to get like a 90-degree um what's it called where you 90-degree joint where you can make a it requires it to be perfectly matched up.
Oh,
It's
it's
that
a
Miter lock.
yeah,
miter
the
lock.
miter
Yeah.
lock. Yes.
Yeah.
On a miter lock joint, I would love to have that router table, but when I'm doing just a simple type of joint, I don't want that micro type spin it 5,000 times. And I wish there was a way just to disable that and go straight to like a basic router table function. Because even though I quote paid for that extra feature, I don't need it 95% of the time.
Mhm.
The micro feature, it actually hinders the ability to use the router table. That's what I've
Yeah.
found with mine.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, we'll see
My
how this
my
one goes. I'm sure it'll be good.
my first router table was a piece of MDF and a piece of maple with a half moon cut in it. It worked perfect.
Yeah.
They do work perfect. I mean, that's what Norm used something similar to that on New Yankee Workshop. I mean, mine was a bench dog. It was pretty basic with a Bosch
Hmm.
router in it. I think
I
it
had
also
a
should be a requirement that somebody has one of those first.
Yeah, I had a 690 router. I put a straight bit in, screwed it up through to make a zero clearance, threw on that piece of maple. I had cut a half moon in, worked perfect. My thumb and a clamp were my micro adjust, just
It
perfect pivot. It was
works.
perfect.
That
And then
Yeah.
works.
somebody threw a router fence at me that he was designing, and I used it one night and I brought it back to him. He goes, "So you don't want to use it?" I go, "No."
Yeah.
It was just like the creepiest thing. It was like he thought it was all this adjustable fences. I was like, no, it's too complicated, and it never came to market.
My first router table was a stamped metal type that was
Yep.
not flat and accurate. And it's just another example of getting a tool that is not, you don't trust it. You try it one time, you have a problem with it. You're like, I don't like router tables, and that's when you start doing handheld routers because you think router tables aren't accurate. But
Hmm.
yeah, you need the bench dog router table was the first one I had that I saw results from. Is Benchdog still a company?
I
Are they
don't.
still around?
I
I
believe
I
so. They
know
made
that.
it's like the orange stuff.
Yes,
That's still
Yeah, they
around.
make like feather boards, push blocks.
I
Yeah.
had a
I actually have quite a few of their
Isn't that
push
sold through?
sticks.
Isn't that sold a lot through Rockla?
I think so,
Yeah,
which we don't have a Rockler in our state. I like to call them out on that all the time because they have like 19 in California and 0 in Kentucky. I think that's interesting. But anyway, I had like a 26 by 18 like top, like MDF laminate covered top. That was my first like what I called real router table, and it was nice. It did the job, and I actually sold it for decent money when I put it out on like Facebook Marketplace. It sold like instantly. Somebody grabbed it, but I felt like I outgrew it a little bit. But you need a flat and stable
Yep.
router table, and you're better off doing what Sedge said with a 3/4 homemade than buying a lot of the cheap ones they have out there that are just not even flat.
Yeah, that stamped metal shit stuff is.
No, it was terrible. Terrible. That's what I had like a Craftsman one first
Yeah. And
because
then
I still was thinking Craftsman was where I needed to be for a
Bench Dog
while.
was Bench Dog. I remember that. They came out with one that had a cast iron top to it.
Yeah, they did. I
yeah,
had
that's what
the
the Harvey
MDF.
has.
I had the MDF version. And then I think
Rockler has a cast iron top one too.
my woodpecker is phenolic,
Yeah,
which is
Yeah.
nice.
my Anchor's
But
phenolic. The Jessam is phenolic.
Is that
Um,
how you say it?
yeah, phenolic. Yeah.
Oh, I used to call it Pahanolic.
I mean that's also right.
Phenolic.
You know, speaking
Panaholic.
of router tables, this weekend I was in New York, Albany, New York, with one of our patrons, but also one of mine, Mr. Don Sargood. Um,
Sorry, good. Welcome to the team.
he 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 won my shop visit thing for the end of the year, but I went up there and he actually wanted to go over the shop layout stuff and um, walked in the shop and he has a very nice collection of tools. So, like it's almost a sickness. Don's going to be listening to this laughing, but he's got a problem. He needs to go to meetings for it. But one of those things is like you thought Steve was bad with the hand tools. Don's not far behind him. I'll tell you that. Um, he has two router tables, and one is an older Jessam, an older generation Jessam, and the other one was an Incra, the same one that I have. Only he has one that they don't make anymore, and this thing is like 56 by 40. It was like the size of a table saw.
That's big.
Wow.
It's humongous. I was blown away, and I was like, "You want more space in your shop?" He said, "Yeah." I was like, "You need to get rid of this tool, this tool, this tool, this tool." He has like this big drum sander, an old Supermax, like before the Laguna bought them,
Yeah.
like an actual Supermax,
Yeah.
25-inch. I said, "How often do you use that?" He's like, "I've used it like 3 times." Why do you have two router tables? Well, I have this one because I like this, and I have this one for um, nostalgia, right? I guess it belonged to one of his family members. And I was like, well, if you were going to keep one, which one would you keep? And then we were like, well, what about this? I've never used that. I'm like, you got to get rid of these things, man. You got to get rid of them. Get rid of them. Um, and we did some layout stuff, and we actually modeled his shop on SketchUp in his
Oh,
shop.
cool.
Yeah, modeled it up real quick. He went around the room and we did measurements. We got all the walls and the floor and the support beam that he had, and we started messing with it. And what we ended up coming up with was tool clustering. Again, I'm telling you, man,
Mm.
every single person that I've done this shop layout stuff with, every single one of them, the final one that they like the most has always resulted in a tool cluster every single time. Because when you
Okay.
do that, you're taking advantage of that lost space, but you're putting 3 to 4 tools to where that lost space is all in one spot in your shop. Like it is, it's the deciding factor every single time, and every single person has always said, "I would have never thought of that.
It
I
makes
wouldn't even
sense.
consider doing that."
As shops get bigger, the perfect thing to think about is, oh, put my tools farther away from each other.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it makes sense just keep them close.
I mean, I think that that's an evolution, just like everything else. You know, when you first start woodworking, what's the common thing that all woodworkers think? I need this tool because I am a woodworker, and then I need as much open space as possible. And it's like both of those things, you come to find out that neither one of those things are actually important.
Yep.
It's you waste so much space. I mean, think about it. The average person, when they have a shop and they get a new tool, what do? Oh, today I got a drum sander. It's coming. It's being delivered today. Where am I going to put it? And they look around their space and they're like, there's an open space right there, and that's where it lives. Not because it's a good place for it, it's because that's the only place it can go.
Hmm.
And so there's just things that I think people don't think about because it's not the norm. Tool clusters, and tool clusters is not an idea that I came up with. I actually thought it was genius when Jay Bates used to talk about it and how he used to do that. And there was another guy that he knew really well. I can't remember his name, but
I just
he
can't.
used to.
I can't get over that word tool clustering. It sounds like
Tool
a
cluster.
a Kama Sutra sexual position.
Well,
It's
that
a
is also, but we're not. That's a different conversation, Sedge.
or
Oh,
a
okay.
cereal, like
Yeah,
a cereal, like
that's
a
for our
breakfast
OnlyFans
cereal.
podcast.
Tool clusters.
Tool
Tool
clusters. That's
cluster.
like a cereal.
God dang it! That should have been the name of the podcast.
Tool clusters.
The Tool
Tool
Cluster
cluster.
podcast.
There you go.
Um, no, but I've always ended up doing it. I mean, right now in my shop, I have a cluster, right? My bandsaw and my table saw. I've always had my table saw with my jointer, or in this case, my jointer planer. I mean, it makes total sense, and it's really incredible once you do that, and you see how you can have these four tools all next to each other that all none of them are inhibited by the other. None of them ever have to be moved, and they give you the most in-feed and out-feed space on all four of those tools than any other configuration you'd likely put in your shop unless you had a massive space. But then what do? You spread all the tools out, and then you're like, oh, I need to do this. I need to walk 13 paces to the other side of the room to use my bandsaw. Like, why would you not want everything to be right next to each other and have tons of open space around the rest of the shop? So that's what we kind of came up with, and we ended up clustering it to where it was the jointer, the planer, the bandsaw, and his drill press. Which the drill press, I was trying to convince him, like, he has the one I used to have, the old Powermatic, the floor standing one. And I was like, do you really need that capacity and the footprint that it takes up? Because you could get a bench top and put it on top of a cabinet and it would take up even smaller footprint than this one does. So who knows what he'll end up doing with that. But it was a perfect use of space because he has this support beam that comes down in his shop. And we just took advantage of that support beam by putting something on all four sides of it. Literally, we freed up one entire wall of his shop by doing
awesome.
that, one whole wall. So I think it's going to result in him, making some pretty good big modifications. The other benefit to tool clustering too, dust collection.
Yes.
It's the big one
It will significantly reduce the cost of piping
Yep.
that you need for your shop.
because you can come down through the center.
You come down
Yeah.
through one spot and you have four
Yeah.
blast gates for four different tools.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
I had to do a forced cluster when we did the boat because when I put the boat on the 1/3 of our shop, it forced me to put things into a cluster, not even having a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I have not regretted that in over a year. There has not been any impact to my shop of like taking away a third of my shop and putting those in a cluster I was forced to do it, but I haven't been like, oh, I wish I had that spot where we're building the boat. Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. So it's interesting. You think about it's almost like devote 1/3 of your shop to assembly of what you're building,
Mm-hmm.
not 100% of your shop to your machine placement.
Exactly. You need a place to assemble and build and store. Because right now, I'll tell you what, I don't know how many times I've taken those freaking drawers in and out of those bays.
Yeah, I bet.
And now I got them, they take up half of that single bay I have. But I think this will be the last time because I think this weekend is the install of cabinets and kicks.
Nice.
You got your Kaizen foam yet?
Nope, not yet.
I'm not caught up yet. I saw your thumbnail where you're sitting in front of it. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, that's the one where you know what? It's one of those things. I call it my mistake video. And a lot of people will say, "Well, you've been doing it such a long time." And guess what? I make mistakes still. We all do.
Yeah. But usually a lot of times mistakes end up being better than you originally even thought that it would be.
You ready? It gave me a really big top reveal. So now I could do a small or a thicker drop edge on that 3/4 ply. So it'll look
Yeah.
real bold.
I feel like if I was doing drawer fronts, I would go on the big side no matter what. You can always cut them down,
Yeah.
but it's hard to make them bigger.
Yep.
You know?
Isn't that the
Well, it
truth?
depends on what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
You can always.
It all depends on what cluster you're talking about.
They really, I
Yeah.
mean, you can cut those down. There's so many different methods to cut those down, but I mean, even drawer boxes. One time, I made my drawer boxes too big, and I had to put them on my joiner. I had to take like an eighth inch off each side of them because I just made them too big. But too big is not always bad. You can always just you can get over it. But if they're too small,
Uh-oh. You got to rebuild everything.
yeah, yeah, go towards big if you have any doubts for sure.
Boy, I'll tell you what I like is those Celiche slides are very adjustable.
I
Yeah.
see that. I need to.
Holy moly, are those nice.
They look
They're
nice.
very adjustable. They're completely interchangeable, and it's one size fits all.
Yep.
That's what I
They're
like
great.
about it. Like there is no, well, I want more adjustability, so I have to buy another clip. It's like, no, you buy the one clip and it's adjustable 6 ways. And then if you want to adjust the back, you know how the bloom when you put it in that locating pin on the back of
Yep.
the drawer box, and it's got that lever where you can raise them up and down. So the Celiche don't come standard with that, right? But there is an attachment piece that you can get and put on there and adjust that way. But I get standard 6-way adjustability, left, right, in, out, up, down on the clips, right? The clip or the slide, right? So that's everything you need. That's everything you need for it.
That's all you
Yeah.
need.
And there's just one, you don't have to buy like the clip that only goes left and right, or the clip that goes left, right, and in and out, or the left. Like it's, I think that's silly. One clip does everything. Um, and I think that caters more to the person that isn't super comfortable utilizing cabinet hardware, right? Because you open up a Bloom catalog and a Celiche, to be fair, it is very freaking confusing if you don't know what you're looking at. And so, like, how do most people know? Like, I don't know what clips I'm supposed to get. Do I need these clips? Do I need these clips? What's the benefit? They don't know. That's one thing I think is really, really smart on the Celiche side of things, where you just offer the one clip. That helps anybody that is trying to get the stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Much easier.
Much easier.
I just love all the adjustability. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't
Just
had to I haven't had to use much side to side because everything just lined up perfect on my 2 mm layouts. I was like, wow,
very
pretty
nice.
happy with it. I can't wait to get it all installed and put a countertop on it. And
You're not even
done with the
close to
project.
being done.
huh?
You're not even close.
I know.
You've got
You
a
know what?
lot of freaking Kaizenning to do.
Oh yeah,
Eh.
but that's just something I do. I'm not going to do videos on all of that.
You know what
No.
sucks though? Ever since you started this build series, I look at my wall, my miter stand wall.
Oh, I've already been
And I'm like-
designing mine.
I'm like, mine could be so much better.
Dude.
Yeah,
Mine could
I've
be
been
so much
designing
better.
mine.
And I'm like,
Dude, you
I
ready?
really need to do mine over again.
The kids came in and just looked at it and went, it looks like a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
It looks like a really nice, credenza. It's like they're like, wow, because the grain. They don't know, and I pointed out to them. They go, "That's why I like it. It's the continuous grain."
Continuous grain. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I could
Pretty stoked.
definitely. Mine was a quickie. I got it done really quick, but I could definitely improve it. It could be much better. I don't know. By the way, FYI, I listened to the podcast that I wasn't on. I listened to y'all's podcast, and actually, I will say the first time the reason why I listened to it was where I wasn't behind. I knew what y'all were talking about, but I actually got into listening to it, and I was like, "Well, that's cool. It's neat to hear the podcast and hear that I actually am into hearing what you all are doing and up to, and as like a listener of the podcast." But I will also say at the same time, you are talking about Kaizen foam and drawers and about perfection and all that kind of thing. And I start thinking, you know, do they realize that like there's people still in this world that are just trying to make it and still trying to survive in this world? If you ever came to my shop, I'd be like, no, you can't look in my drawers because
Check
This
out my
drawer,
drawers
this drawer for the most part is drill bits.
for
This
the
part,
most part.
this drawer for the most part is this. That's as far as I've gotten.
I'm
I
the
am not
same.
to the level, and I want to remind both of you all. I don't think sometimes you all realize you are at a step in life where you are looking at doing Kaizen foam and location of every single thing. I am not there right now. I am not there. Mine is like remotely close that you know where my things are within this maybe cabinet, like, but I'm not there. And it's funny. I thought, you know what? I'm going to point that out and remind you all because I listened to the last podcast that don't beat yourself up because you are like you're killing it with your organization, and it's like I'm not there.
I'm not. Sedge, you open up his drawers in his shop and it's like having an orgasm on organization.
I mean, when we were at Steve's
Hey,
house,
hey, 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 hey. Time out, both of yous. There's a lot of time. My whole life has been just trying to get stuff built and get it out the door.
and that's
And
where I
now I
am.
have the luxury of
I
saying,
know,
okay,
I know,
I could do this.
and that's what
I
I'm
could get
pointing out.
organized because I'm Ronnie. I've been there.
I
It's
know,
closely remote, and then I spend an hour looking for it in that one cabinet.
and that's what I kind of wanted to bridge the gap of pointing out because I know you've been there before, but I
Oh
want to
yeah.
remind you that although you're now at that point in life where you're able to say, I know I love this plane and this plane and this plane, and I'm going to stick
Oh
these in this drawer and they're going to be all three together. I am not there.
yeah.
And it's funny because people watch my YouTube video of my van build out and stuff. They're like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Your ultimate organization. Yeah, it's there, but at the same time, when you open up one of my drawers, my sis drawers, they're packed. And I know it's in there somewhere, but it's not like it's Kaizen foamed in there.
I and
It's it's
I
in there.
still have a lot of that too. I still have a lot of
And
it, and it drives me crazy.
the only thing that's made me feel better, like mentally, is to think that I guess sometimes the only time you can ever get there is when you're retired. It's like, you came to a spot in life where these are the tools you need, and this is where you want them, and these are the dedicated spots for them. But until then, you're just figuring it out, and you're like putting things in drawers. And I feel like that's a whole thing with social media. It makes you feel like you're not adequate because you see Kaizen foam and you see these things, and you're like, well, I'm not there. I'm not there. But can you be there before you've mastered it in life and you know exactly what you need?
Yep.
That's
Okay.
that was that's kind of been a reflection thing for me after listening to your last podcast. You
Yep.
know,
So I've told this story, and it'll be a quick one now. Mikey and I about organization and getting to a job and having no hammers. That's why we had a checklist for both my van and if we rented a truck, a box truck, or his trailer, going out and doing an install. Because he goes, "You bring a hammer? No. Did you bring a hammer?" We'd have to run to the next Home Depot. We had like 20 freaking cheap hammers.
totally understand that. Tape
Yeah.
measures are the other ones.
Oh my God. You just
Tape
bring a
measure
tape.
or a hammer. It's the basics. It's the
Mm-hmm.
thing that would never make it on your to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
And
the
we had
specialty tools. It's the things you think you're going to have anyway, so you don't put it on your list.
and we had it laminated by the big door on the big bay. And when we were loading that night or that afternoon for the next day, to the point where I have a shoot checklist in my shop now. So when the unit shows up on Sunday mornings or Saturday morning, he comes in and he starts looking at that, starts looking around the room. And we try to figure out, hey, that's too much clutter. Where are we going to be shooting today? But we have a checklist. You know what's really cool is now he goes, put on your pouch because I'll be doing something and I won't have my pouch on. He goes, hey, put your pouch on.
Yeah,
It gets ingrained in you what to look for if you have a list.
right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep.
I've
It's
been obsessing over the whole organizational side of things, and um, it's basically since the last time we recorded Sedge, like thinking about all that stuff. And I was thinking about it. I've already started designing my miter saw, because the whole reason I got the new dust collector was because I wanted to build a miter saw and extend it down more, and I couldn't do that with a Harvey. So now I have this space, but like the bottom is just going to be, uber drawers on the left side of this miter saw, and then on the right side at the bottom, it's going to be some of the sustainer pullouts for certain things. Because I think I'm going to get rid of a lot of that stuff in my assembly table. My idea is that I'm just going to turn around and everything that I need is in any of those drawers, and they're all labeled. Like, because that's one thing that I obsess over when I come to your shop, Sedge, is like I can go to your stuff and like look at the labels, and like you can look at the label and know exactly what's in there. Like this 3-drawer sortainer is all cabinet, you know, uh, jigs, right? So it's
Yep.
like, drawer hardware, whatever. It's all like it's there. Then this is all Salice, undermount drawer slide hardware. This is all hinges. That's where I want to be. And then I want to open up these drawers and I want to see the Kaizen foam and I want to see everything organized and know what goes where and what I have, and I can see it, visually. And I was thinking about this the other day. Like I already know, like I'm fairly confident with the design that I'm coming up with for the miter saw station. And getting everything behind doors and make it look cleaner in the background and all that stuff. But what I thought was most important for me in building out this new miter saw station really is the, like, how organized can I get? You know what I mean? And I feel like after I build it, I have to force myself after that
Yes.
to take
Yes.
1 week where all I do is I go out there and I'm like, today I'm going to focus on this bank.
Yes.
Tomorrow I'm going to focus on this bank. And I'm going to spend 5 days focusing on those, getting those drawers where they need to be, and then in the event that, I have stuff that I need to, potentially find a home for, then I can work those things into future builds in the shop or something like that. But I think this will show me what my needs are. But when you throw a bunch of crap in a drawer, I think 2 things happen. One, you keep way more crap than you need because you're like, oh, I have space for it in this drawer. I'm just going to toss it in there, right? So that's the first thing. You keep more stuff than you need. 2, you don't know what you have,
Yes. Correct.
right? And
That's absolutely correct.
That's so it's like you fix one by fixing the other. So if you do the organization, you're not going to have a bunch of crap you don't need because you're going to be like, I'm not sacrificing space for this stupid thing, and I didn't even know I had the damn thing. If I open up a drawer and I know exactly what's in there, like this is my TSO drawer, and it's got my Bigfoot here, and it's got my bench dogs, and it's got my square, it's got my triangle, it's got whatever. You open up the drawer, you know it's there. Even if you're not maximizing the space in that drawer, do you really need to? That's the question. Do you really need to maximize the space in that drawer, or do you just need to have the things you want where you want them? You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of the thing that really is triggered in my head since our last podcast was, do I really need all this stuff, or do I just need to know where the things that I need are? I have so many. I mean, we've talked about this a million times on this podcast. So many things we don't need. So many things we bought and forget we had. So many things that we bought thinking we would use and just don't, or we haven't used it in 8 months.
Yep.
Get rid of it. It's taking up space that doesn't need to be taken. Put the thing that you actually use all the time in that space. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I think it takes a lot of years of woodworking to realize that you're not going to ever use some of the things
For sure.
you think you are, because you were marketed to and you made an investment on a certain thing that you thought, oh, this is something that I need because I'm a woodworker. And then you realize once 2 or 3 years goes by and you don't use whatever that thing is, you don't need it. And I think that's a big full circle moment that I've went through because I used to be marketed to and I would buy things that I never used.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you see something that's a sweet deal. You can't pass up, like something at a garage sale, a estate sale.
A
And you
combo
go,
router
oh,
bit that does 70 different moldings.
yeah.
Right.
And you're like, oh, that's amazing. I can make 70 different moldings with that router bit. That's a no-brainer. and I
Well,
never used it. I never used the bit one time.
right. It's interesting. Okay, so it's really interesting. I know obviously well, unfortunately we're running out of time, but it's so interesting you bring that up. And I think that we should talk about this on our next episode. But you make the comment about you're constantly being marketed to. We've mentioned on this podcast before about finding people that you trust and that you can rely on and that you take their word for things. The problem is that there's a difference between being marketed to on, oh, look, this is just another product, which right now YouTube is littered with because it's the holiday season, right? And there are some videos out there that just show here's a product, here's a product, here's a product, here's a product, here's a product. That's fine, right? That's, we're in the business of affiliate sales and there it's a good opportunity to show people things that they don't know exist. The real difference maker are the people who show the product and talk about what it does and then allows that person that's being marketed to, like you're talking about, to make a determination on whether or not it's something they need, right? That's what I think is really important. And you don't get that as much from brands. Brands are just going to put, here's our new product, and there's some pictures in a magazine, and people are like, oh, that's cool, I need it. But it's like, well, what does it do, right? Did somebody show you what it does? Does it scratch an itch for you? Does it solve a problem in your shop? And I think that that's honestly where YouTube can be so beneficial because, or even Instagram, because if you can see what it does, then it sells itself. It sells it to the person that actually needs it. So I think that after you've been woodworking for a while, I think you fall on the side of what I was just explaining more versus what you're talking about, which is, I think, the newbie woodworker, which is the same mentality of, I'm a brand new woodworker. I obviously have to have a drill press. I obviously have to have a bandsaw. It's like, do you really need one?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't think about that. That's just, I'm a woodworker. I have to have these things because woodworkers have these. Right.
Mhm.
And then, like you said, with the time and experience, you get to a point where you're like, do I really need this?
Mhm.
Do I have 10 other ways to do this same task?
Like a press would be a really good example. There's half people would say, yes, I need that. Other half would say, I have ways around it. I don't need a drill press.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a really good example of things that you're told you have to have a very large floor mounted stationary drill press. Some people would say yes, some people would say no.
Yeah. Marketed.
Yeah, it's definitely a marketing thing, probably more than ever.
Oh, yeah. I know a company like that. They got this doofus that does the live feed.
Oh, I see that guy all the time. It's that green tool company that
Yeah,
it's like
overpriced.
they come up on my
Overpriced.
YouTube with these lives and this guy. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
so
think this guy has
overpriced.
ever even built anything in his life.
He always hopes
Yeah.
everything helps.
There's
Yeah, he
absolutely
hopes
no
it helps.
justification for the pricing
No,
on
he
that
has
tool brand
no
either.
clue. I don't think this guy's ever built I don't think he's ever even seen a 2x4. And he's
No.
like doing these lives and it's yeah, he comes up on my feed all the time. I don't know who
Yeah.
he is.
They make
Such a
inferior
dork.
tools.
Looks like Curly Howard.
His name is like Sludge or something like that.
Yeah.
Sludge.
Spooge.
Sludge.
Spooge.
Spooge tool.
Sedge on the ledge. Something like that.
Sedge on the ledge.
Sledge. Something. I don't know who he is.
Oh my God. That's a great idea.
Sledge
Next
on a
year,
ledge.
next year for Christmas, we need. Oh my God. This is the best idea ever. Elf on a shelf. We need to do Sedge on a ledge. And the only people that get these things are patrons.
That's
and
a
they
great
have to
idea.
they submit photos of Sedge on a ledge every day during the month of December. That would be amazing.
That would be good.
And it's a
Sedge on
little
ledge.
bendy. It's one of those little bendy sedges.
Sedge on a ledge.
Anatomically correct.
It's
There
it's
you go.
happening.
There you go.
Well, that'd be kind of hard because it would, with your big head, it would probably like tip over all the time.
It's
Two
funny.
thumbs up.
Yeah. Well, that was a. I'm glad we had that discussion. Now all I'm going to be thinking about again is my new miter saw station and how I can get it uber organized.
And I think with our break, we have a ton of things we want to talk about in upcoming episodes. I think we've got a lot of things banked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a lot of subjects. that we've
Yeah.
talked about that have happened.
Have we announced SplinterCon yet? We announced
Con,
the
con,
dates
con, con.
I think
on
we did right after our thing, but let's go ahead and just put that out real fast. For those of you listening, just know that likely next month, so January 2025 is when we're going to start ticket sales for that. We will be, there's going to be some changes. It's going to be one day longer. And there will be ticket prices.
con.
And
Con.
the best time to buy the tickets will be during the first run because they will be the least expensive at that time.
Splinter
But the dates are going to be 9 October through 12 October. So mark that on your calendars already if you plan on attending. 9 through 12 October. It will be at the same location in Newport, Kentucky. But yeah, we're going to be offering tickets, and we are going to limit this to 60 people.
Splinter con.
60 people, and that will include anybody that's going to be bringing their spouses. So, based on the interest on the last one, I have a feeling the next one is going to be substantially higher. So, you will definitely want to make sure that you get your tickets while you have the chance.
You get a domino.
Yeah.
You get a
if you
domino.
you thought the giveaways were good on the last one. Wait till this next one.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
We're going to
That's for sure.
kill it.
You get a shaper.
Yeah, that'd be nice. But everybody, thank you so much for listening to episode 166 or episode 1 of the Three Splinters podcast
There you go.
with me and Sedge and the guy riding our coattails, Ronnie Fulton.
Oh my God.
Because you know what they say about splinters? They hurt, but you can't get rid of us.
That's right.
Man, that was a perfect segue to saying bye-bye.